If you've been watching my content or paying attention to Dragon Ball for a long time, you know that Toriyama loves to use the concept of yin and yang in the series. He does this multiple times with multiple characters. Goku and Vegeta have a sense of yin and yang. Even Trunks and Gohan to a degree. We've discussed the difference between Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego and how that has an aspect of yin and yang. And don't forget the whole Kami and Piccolo and the good and evil Buu, concepts. They're all pretty much borrowing this idea of yin and yang from Chinese mythology. But did you know that Universe 6 and Universe 7 Saiyans also share another version of yin and yang? Now, in the past, I've talked about how Dragon Ball is heavily influenced by Journey to the West, and I've done videos about this, multiple of them. In fact, it's the story that kind of laid the groundwork for Dragon Ball. But on this video, I want to discuss Universe 6 and Universe 7 and the inspiration behind these two different Saiyan civilizations in the series, and really discuss why they are their own version of yin and yang. So let's get the party started. I will meet you back here in just a moment. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. My handle is @EmperorBigD for updates on news, videos, upcoming content, and much more. Universe 6 Saiyans evolved differently. They seem less savage, more sophisticated, and they don't have tails. We were first introduced to them back during the Universe 6, Universe 7 arc of Dragon Ball Super, and we saw some very interesting differences even back then, but then the Tournament of Power, we were introduced to Caulifla, Kale, and actually saw a little bit of their world, but definitely not enough to get a gauge on their civilization and how it works. However, we know that Universe 6 Saiyans are basically the yin and yang, the yang to the yin of Universe 7 Saiyans, and we're going to talk about why on this video. They don't have tails, which is a far cry from Sun Wukong, who had a tail. So, what was Toriyama really trying to say with it? Joining me to discuss this here on this video, please welcome back to the channel, Jordan. What's up, man?
What's up, bro?
Check out Jordan's channel right now. He talks a lot about Journey to the West and Buddhist and Chinese influences behind Dragon Ball. It's Jordan the Dragon Lee. I'll leave a link down in the description. Click his name and it'll go right to his channel. And check him out. Give him a subscription and watch his videos. So today, we're talking about the yin and yang. So this is kind of a sequel video to our Ultra Instinct versus Ultra Ego topic, because that was also yin and yang. And Toriyama plays with this a lot. I mentioned in the intro Kami and Piccolo, the different good and evil Boos, but the Universe 6, Universe 7 Saiyans, we're talking about a whole civilization here. Now, both civilizations love the art of fighting. However, because of the way they were nurtured and the way they evolved, they have a very different perspective. So, where do you think the idea for Universe 6 Saiyans being different from Universe 7 Saiyans comes from when it comes to the influences from Journey to the West and from Chinese mythology?
Well, Goku was based on Sun Wukong, but because Goku is essentially a representation of Sun Wukong after he's been completely developed as a character, Toriyama uses the entire Saiyan race as a way of using concepts from Sun Wukong's character development in the story. So, all the Saiyans, in a sense, in one way or another, are a reference to Sun Wukong, which, is part of the reason the Saiyans are so cool as a race. As a matter of fact, all of Saiyan culture, the reason that it exists and functions the way it does is because Toriyama he took the principles and the things that Sun Wukong stood for, and he used that to create this warrior race, the Saiyans, right? And, everything that they stand for is essentially the opposite of what Sun Wukong was supposed to be taught on his journey to the West. So, the Universe 7 Saiyans, essentially, are a representation of Sun Wukong when he was dominated by his ego, and he ran this demon clan of monkey demons to try and take over the heavens. The reason the Universe 7 Saiyans are so different from the Universe 6 Saiyans is because Toriyama uses the Universe 7 Saiyans as a means of basically telling the story of what happened with Wukong before he went on the journey to the West. So, for example, Sun Wukong became the Monkey King, right? And when he did become the Monkey King, eventually, he was overtaken by his ego. Him becoming a king allowed him to have the power to do things that he couldn't do before. And eventually, he trained his monkey army, and he tried to take over the heavens, right? And Toriyama references this through King Vegeta, the Saiyans trying to take over space,
And Frieza, yeah. I mean, he came up with Universe 7 Saiyans first, so I feel like with Dragon Ball Super, it was almost, it's not that he was going backwards, but it was almost like he was trying to show not just Goku and Vegeta, but also the audience, aka us, that the Universe 6 Saiyans have already achieved that enlightenment without having, I mean, maybe they did go through a journey, not quite to the West. Maybe they did go through a journey like Goku and Vegeta, maybe centuries ago. But it's almost like he's showing, okay, the Universe 7 Saiyans, they were wiped away. For a lot of times it was their own fault, really, because, they trusted Frieza, they allowed him to come into them and, and become basically their ruler, and they didn't really have their P's and Q's in check. They didn't really know how to train properly, because if they had trained properly, you could make an argument they would have overcome Frieza at some point. And Frieza was actually afraid of that. In the original manga, Frieza feared the Saiyans revolting against him in a large group. It wasn't even the Super Saiyan legend. This is early in the Frieza saga of the manga. But I feel like with Universe 6, notice that in Universe 6, even though they have a Frost, and they have several really powerful characters in Universe 6, Planet Sadala, Universe 6's Saiyan homeworld is still around, and they seem to live kind of a happy life. So that's like, it's almost like he's telling Goku and Vegeta, really Vegeta, he's like, your people could have had this if they weren't all screwed up.
Yeah, Nagamine actually talks about this, during Dragon Ball Super Broly. He talks about how he tried to depict it as the Saiyans had just lost their pride as a race from being dominated by King Cold and then eventually Frieza, and that's the reason that they don't stand up for themselves. And he also specifically talks about how Bardock was the only one left who had any resemblance of the original pride of the Saiyans. So Bardock, as we all know, was the guy who stood up for Planet Vegeta, right? And the scene with Vegeta and Kaba, a lot of people don't really notice this, but the scene with Vegeta and Kaba, whenever Vegeta threatens to destroy Sadala, and Kaba is willing to stand up to protect his planet, and he becomes a Super Saiyan, and then Vegeta is proud of Kaba, that's because the Universe 6 Saiyans have the pride of the Saiyan race still, that was the whole point of that scene, was to have Vegeta test Kaba whether or not he was capable of rising above the occasion and actually protecting his planet. And that's the reason that Bardock is kind of a character that Vegeta would look up to or idolize, because he's the one guy that hadn't lost his pride as a Saiyan and was willing to stand up to Frieza no matter what, whether he died or not. So one of the issues that I have with the way people think about the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 Saiyans is they think about it in terms of good and evil, which in a sense that is the case, but also when they talk about how the Universe 6 Saiyans evolve in a different direction, they use that word for a reason, right? It's an evolution that, the way that they've, the way that they've advanced as a species is different, right?
Right.
And it's not necessarily all about good and evil, right? It's about the nature of the Saiyans. In Chinese mythology, they believe that once everything's born good. Nothing's born evil in Chinese mythology or in
it's more like a corruption is what makes it bad. It's not too different from Adam and Eve. They were good.
Not at all, actually.
Yeah, a lot of religion, East and West, believe that.
Yeah. So they believe that we're all kind of born pure, but as we develop an ego as we get older and we develop this idea in our own minds of what's actually right and wrong, we're corrupted by that, right? Because, what you know about morals is based on your own perception, right? And with the Saiyans, things are a little bit different. So what we are seeing right now with Bardock in the Granola arc is a pretty good example of what the Universe 6 Saiyans would have to go through to end up how they are on Sadala.
The more Toriyama and Toyotaro write up the Bardock backstory in the Universe 6, I'm sorry, in the Granola arc and in also Minus, the more it seems like Toriyama's trying to make Bardock more like a Universe 6 Saiyan than a Universe 7 Saiyan. Have you picked up on that?
He's showing us the process, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's not about good and evil, like I said before. It's about your nature, right? So the thing is, with Saiyans, like, they're not animals per se, but the way Toriyama handles them within the story, they're very similar to animals. Which is why when Goku shows up on Grandpa Gohan's doorstep, he's very wild and animal-like, and, you know, there's all these themes of, like, taming Goku, and, like, you know, the Saiyans are animalistic for the same reason that Sun Wukong was a monkey, because they're trying to, it's all about instincts, it's all about, you know, what drives you, right? It's not necessarily about, you know, making a conscious decision about things. It's more about, like, your animal instincts and, like, what drives them. So in the Saiyans case, the Universe 7 Saiyans case, they were originally driven by their ego, right? And, like, their ego led all of their decisions. And that is to mimic what Sun Wukong was like whenever he tried to take over heaven and he became a demon because he was overcome by his ego. So that, like, everything that you see the Universe 7 Saiyans go through and do is a reference to the early portions of Sun Wukong's life when he's kind of a villain, right?
Same thing, and it mirrors Goku and Vegeta. When Vegeta first meets Goku, and he doesn't realize it right away, Goku is sort of like, at that time, this is before Super, this is like the original manga, you know, the original 42 volumes, Vegeta is that unpolished diamond, and Goku's like a polished diamond, and that's why Goku's always able to get past him, always able to overcome him when it comes to power and martial arts. And then finally at the end he realizes that, yeah, I kind of misjudged you, you know, that's a big part of his speech. There's more to it than that, but Toriyama uses that Journey to the West influence in a lot of different, I mentioned it, a lot of different ways, you know?
Yeah, he's very creative about how he uses it. And so by the time Sun Wukong has been tamed by Buddha, in a sense, and he's sent on the Journey to the West, you know, at first, as he goes on the journey, he's just like, he's mercilessly killing all these demons that are trying, because his job is to protect the monk that he's going with on the Journey to the West to attain the scriptures to teach Buddhism to the world. It's kind of their job, right? Sun Wukong is supposed to protect him in order to make the journey. He's the protector, right? But when he first starts making the journey, he's not doing it actually to protect the monk. He's doing it so he can make the journey and be free. So when he first starts on his journey, he's doing it for his ego. He's doing it so he can just be done with this and, you know, do his job, you know, bring the scriptures back from the West and just be done with it so he can be free and continue to be what he wanted to be, which is a sage equaling heaven, right? But as the quest progresses, he actually starts to respect the monk that he's, you know, protecting. And the monk is constantly, now keep in mind that, you know, Sun Wukong, before he was a good guy at all, he was a demon who was a master at taming demons and bringing them to his side, which is why he was capable of building such a giant army that could possibly topple heaven. He's always been a master at taming demons. So, but whenever he goes to protect this monk, he's just murdering them like crazy. Like he has no respect for them. He doesn't care because he knows the nature of demons. He knows what they're really like. As a matter of fact, he specifically has the ability to see demons in disguise. That's an ability that he gained in heaven when they tried to kill him in the furnace and take his immortality. But he specifically is good at seeing the evil in people. So, you know, he's constantly judging these demons and looking down on these demons. And the monk, even though the monk is the primary target, because these demons want to kill this monk so they can become immortal. If they eat him, they become immortal. So, like, the whole point of the journey is Wukong preventing this monk from getting killed by these demons, like, so he can take the scriptures and spread them out to the world, right? But as the journey progresses, you know, he changes. Sun Wukong changes. He actually starts to respect the monk, and he evolves to instinctually want to protect the monk. He wants to. It's in his instincts to do it. And when he's doing it with pure intention,
For the right reasons.
When he's doing it just to protect Tripitaka, he's rewarded for that. Because he's essentially becoming a part of the essence of the universe. The universe is technically using him to protect the monk. He's because he's doing everything out of instinct, he's like one with the universe in a sense. Everything's unfolding the way that's supposed to. And by the end of the story, Sun Wukong has become a master at just taming these demons and turning them to good. And that's the reason that Sun Wukong becomes a Buddha and he finds his own enlightenment, because he realizes, he gains universal compassion through the need to protect this person. And, he wants to respect him, so he tries to practice what he's teaching him and tame these demons rather than killing them. So that's the reason that Sun Wukong's character evolves in the way it does, is because, he goes from being an ego-driven character to a character who is just selflessly, instinctually protecting others. And that's the reason that the Universe 6 Saiyans are the way they are, because they're a representation of the opposite development happening within the Saiyan race.
So let us know in the comments if there's anything else you picked up from Universe 6 versus Universe 7 as far as any kind of mythological influences that come to mind, or anything else. Let us know, and check out Jordan. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you soon.